All right, welcome back to segment number 2, part 2 of this week's episode. Thank you for joining us and being back here with us. And we are happy to have the privilege to come to this microphone every single week and talk to you guys out there, not only across the fruited plain, but across the globe. Hello to our friends in Scotland and Australia and all the English-speaking nations. And hey, we'd love for you to come visit us in Free America. If you want to come to Free America, consider this your open invitation. And Free America can still be accessed every single day. Ironically, Free America tends to be more of the South and West. How does that work out, Jared? I don't know, but it seems to have worked out that way. The area, sadly, in the United States of America, the areas that were historically considered the birthplace of the American Revolution now are really scary places and places that, as a free citizen, you would not want to go, such as Boston and Philadelphia and New York. None of those places are friendly to free citizens. It's great if you want to be a welfare slave or if you want to be a comfortable slave and live in a nanny state. If you want to be part of the nanny state, if that is your goal in life, to be a part of the nanny state, we highly recommend Philadelphia, New York, and Boston. So, and if any of you out there accidentally stumbled upon Student of the Gun Radio and you're thinking to yourself, man, how do I get in on that nanny state? How can I be a comfortable slave? Those are just a few of the recommended areas that you can go to and be a comfortable slave.
Speaking of the Northeast part of the United States, not so much the comfortable slave part, but more so the Northeast, we hope that you took a moment to recognize the fallen on 9/11 this year for both instances, in 2001 and in 2012.
Yeah. Well, we did that. We recognized them, and actually, we went to on 9/11. We actually went, Student of the Gun. We went over to the National World War II Museum, and we spent some time at the World War II Museum. And if you're ever in New Orleans or I'm going to give them a free plug too, because that's just what kind of nice guy I am. But if you find yourself in the South, in the New Orleans area, I would highly recommend that you take a day and go to the National World War II Museum. It's inspiring. Quite frankly, it's inspiring. It is inspiring to go and see the photos and some of the video and the actual, they're not artifacts. I guess they are, maybe tanks and airplanes and rifles and so forth. And to go there and to think that our parents and our grandparents, for some of you, your great-grandparents, actually, stood up to two evils on two sides of the planet. We had, an European war and we had an Asian Pacific war. And it's amazing to me today, here in 2013, to think that in the 1940s, my grandparents, some of your parents or great-grandparents, stood up to fascism and imperialism on two sides. We fought a two-front war, and in 5 years, defeated both. We defeated Nazi Germany and fascist Italy and imperialist Japan in a period of what actually turned out to be less than 5 years, if you total it. So how is it that we were able to fight an entire world war on two fronts in the 40s and win decisive victories? And here we are, 12 years into our declared global war on terror, and there's no end in sight.
Do you want to know what the key word there was? It was fight. We actually were allowed to fight.
Oh, you mean our grandparents they knew who the enemy was, they went to the enemy, and they killed them?
Yeah, they didn't have to wait until they were fired upon to do that, so they could lose their life before.
Oh, well, maybe it was we weren't worried about, in 1945, offending our enemies. Now, that's going to take us a little farther down the road than we want to go with that. But just as a quick aside, if you are in New Orleans, check out the National World War II Museum. Now, Jared's going to give us a quick audio clip because apparently some of you guys out there, no, before we do the audio clip, we're going to do recommended reading.
And then after the recommended reading, I want to say something.
Okay. Recommended reading. Now, all of you guys out there, you know that if you're a student of the gun, you need to have education and information. You should always be seeking that. And the way we're going to help you out is just to give you a few recommended readings. And one of those is Principles of Personal Defense. I know that's a lot of P's for a radio show, but Principles of Personal Defense by Jeff Cooper.
And none of them popped.
None of them pop because we have these awesome pop filters on our microphones. But Jared will put the link up. Go to studentofthegunradio.com, and there will be a direct link to purchase that book. Now, Jeff Cooper, he left us about 10 years ago. I think it was 2003 that Jeff Cooper left us. But Jeff Cooper is considered, for you young kids out there, the father of modern pistol craft. So he had a lot of good things to say. And the Principles of Personal Defense, as a book, it's not that long. It might be 100 pages. But it's filled with excellent information. And if you are an adult human being and you own or carry a firearm in the defense of your own life, you owe it to yourself to find a copy of this book and read it. It's not a difficult read, but it is an extremely valuable read. So check that out, Principles of Personal Defense by Jeff Cooper. And like I said, Jared will go ahead and put the direct link up for you guys in the show notes. As always, if you want to see, like, well, where are you guys getting all this stuff from? Or, you know, we've actually had people challenge us like, oh, I don't believe that. I'm like, okay. We're not making this stuff up. We pulled this stuff off of the internet machine like every other show on planet Earth does. They pull their stuff off the internet too. And we do put the links up. If we mention a story specifically, and if I source, you know, NBC News or Fox News or The Blaze or whatever, we'll put the link up there. Go read it for yourself. And if after you read it and look at it, you don't think it's true, drive on, brother. Go crazy. But, all right, so that's the recommended reading, and Jared wanted to say something before we moved into the next topic.
It was just back to the 9/11 thing. I've seen a lot of mixed numbers on the 2 million biker, the biker ride, and I want to know if any of you guys were there. Post pictures to our Facebook and tell us how it went, because I've seen a lot of mixed numbers, and the most recent one I saw, it was pretty incredible, and I want to know the real numbers, so.
Yeah, well, don't expect the mainstream media to that was a pro-freedom rally.
They ignored it completely.
Yeah, it was a spontaneous display of American freedom, and we can't have that in our mainstream media today. They downplayed it. So yeah, like Jared said, if you were there, if you were a student of the gun that was there, rock on, brothers and sisters, and let us know about it. Now, Jared's going to go ahead and set us up right now with the audio clip, because apparently some people on planet Earth have not heard this.
You know, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
Yeah, that was the dear leader, Comrade Barry. And for those of you who don't know, Comrade Barry has decided that unlike most presidents that don't get involved in local issues, because that's not a presidential thing, can you imagine if Ronald Reagan or George Bush or any of the presidents got involved in individual local issues? There was a crime. A bank got robbed in Provo, Utah, and so the president's going to comment on it. Really? That's not presidential, but we don't really have a president. We have a dictator and a usurper. So the great usurper, Comrade Barry, decided that you can't waste a good crisis. And if you're able to spawn a crisis or create a crisis, well, all the better. And apparently, we're just going, we don't want to fight. We don't want to argue. We're just going to go ahead and take Comrade Barry at his word. And what we believe is that based upon his actions, what he has demonstrated to us is that Barry has decided he's going to adopt most of the thugs in the world. That the male thugs would be, if he had a son, that these male thugs would look like him, or they would look like him. So we're just going with that. We're just going with that. We'll take him at his word. He's decided he's going to do an outreach program to the American thuggery, and we want to talk about this now. Obviously, if you're listening to this and you read the pre-show notes, you see that the title is "Shooting an Unarmed Man," and what we've had over the last period of 2-3 weeks or so, there's always been, certain amounts of crime or violence in the United States. And specifically, if you live in areas that are controlled by Democrats, like, New York and Philadelphia and Detroit and Chicago. If you live in areas like that, there's even more violence than everywhere else in the country. You riddle me that, Batman. You can figure that out on your own. But what we've seen is a rash of attacks. And these attacks aren't your normal I want your wallet kind of attacks. They're not your normal, I'm going to, everybody in America or adults, they're kind of used to that. They're used to street crime. I'm going to steal your cell phone, or I want your wallet, or, stick them up, give me your wallet. But these are not typical street crimes. These are just pure out and out violent acts of violence and random violence committed against what seems to be, according to the stories that we have in front of us, one specific type of people by another type of people. The first story that we're going to reference, reference comes to us from theblaze.com, and the title of the story is, "I Hate White People," in quotes. Random racial rampage in New York leaves one man brain dead. And if you hadn't heard about this, we'll give you a real quick heads up. Apparently, it was the middle of the day. A suspect, Mr. LaShawn Martin, age 31, was playing chess in the park and declared, "I hate white people." And another witness heard him say, a witness testified that he said, "The next person that walks by, I'm going to F blank blank K." So a man walked by him, and a man is Mr. Jeffrey Babbitt, age 62, walked by, and LaShawn jumped up and pummeled him, hit him so hard that his head hit the ground, and the witnesses said they could hear his skull cracking against the ground. Well, at news time, Mr. Babbitt had been declared brain dead. So here we have, just out of the blue, for no other reason than apparently Mr. Babbitt was the wrong color.
This is kind of a side note off of this one. LaShawn Martin was 31 and the victim was 62. And what's that tell you? That when you're attacked, it's not going to be by somebody that is older and weaker than you.
Right. Then this next story comes to us from, let's see, I think it's the New York Post. Yeah, the New York Post. This next story comes to us from the New York Post. And this happened after the chest attack. So after the guy was attacked because he was walking through the park, a man was on a bus in New York City. It says bus rider's face smashed in during, in quotes, hate attack. It says a man was attacked and pummeled on a public bus so hard that the bones in his face were broken by the attacker, who jumped up and called him a cracker. It says the suspect passed a 31-year-old rider, and this was 2:45 in the afternoon. So this cracker had his face smashed in by a person who was not the same skin tone as him for apparently being on a public bus and committing the crime of being Caucasian. Next story, September 8th, 2013. Navy veteran suffers brain bleed after allegedly being attacked by 3 black men. This is from theblaze.com, and this is in Boston. Boston police are searching for 3 men after they allegedly attacked. I love how they put the words allegedly in there. You have someone who's brutally beaten and has brain hemorrhage laying on the ground, and they're like, well, they were allegedly attacked. Okay. The Navy veteran says he was a college veteran, says apparently 3 black men got out of their car and started fighting with the Navy veteran as he was walking to his apartment. He was apparently a college student studying at Boston University. He's taken and he's being treated for severe injuries and brain bleed. So, and it doesn't say that any weapons were involved in this. Okay, moving on. CBS Minnesota. 2 joggers on, and this is a little bit older, but it fits in with our story. This is Dateline May 28th, 2013. 2 joggers on Friday, 2 joggers on Fridley, not Friday, on the Fridley Trail, punched by a group of men. You're like, what? In broad daylight, within full view of a busy stretch of the East River Road, it says 7 young men attacked 2 joggers randomly and beat them. All right. Well, where were the 7 young men from? Well, according to the story, go down, and you have to. A lot of these stories, they don't give you this stuff until the very end, so they hope that you won't read all the way down and get it. Yeah, but authorities say the suspects were 6 to 7 Somali men. That's right, we had Somali immigrants. Well, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that awesome that we're allowing Somali immigrants into our country to beat on our citizens? And then the last one, this comes from, again, the New York Post. This is Indian court convicts 4 in fatal gang rape case. And if you haven't been paying attention to what's going on the other side of the world, in India, type in the words India and rape into your local favorite search engine there, whatever it happens to be. And you will discover many, many stories from Great Britain and from newspapers in India that they have a gang rape epidemic in the country of India right now. And you're probably horrified by that if you haven't heard, but this is what is going on in the world. And hey, Jared, you remember your that whack job that we talked about last week with the leopard coat and the purse?
The gun control advocate.
Yeah, the gun control advocate who was protesting the pro-gun rally or something.
If you guys didn't watch that video, shame on you.
Anyway, what was one of the countries that the leopard coat, purse carrying pro-gun or anti-gun guy? What was one of the countries that he pointed out?
India,
yeah. He said how awesome it was in Great Britain and
Australia
and India. How wonderful it was in India because they have very, very strict gun control and the people have been disarmed. Folks, like all things that come out of liberal people's mouths, that is a complete and total lie. Violent crime in the large cities in India is out of control. And we have gangs of Muslim men. I'm sorry, but it's a fact. We have gangs of Muslim men that are committing gang rapes against Indian women. And and it's gotten so crazy that they're coming up with these weird, like, rape trap vaginal installation things and stuff. It's crazy. I got an idea. If 2, 3, 4 people decide that they're going to gang rape you, reach into your pocket or purse, pull out a pistol, and shoot them. And guess what? They will stop trying to rape you. And that's another thing that liberals love to do. They have to address that somehow.
I would say you could just pee on yourself or puke.
Oh, that's right. In Colorado, the University in Colorado says that if someone wants to rape you, you should just urinate on yourself, and that will stop them. That's what you're supposed to do, according to the University in Colorado. But they're always looking for half measures. They're always looking for half measures and anything that, because they can't say, oh, we should recommend that women carry guns to protect themselves. Oh, can't do that because they might actually effectively protect themselves. Then we'll have to admit that everything we say is a lie. Ooh, that's a problem. We can't do that. But the reason we mention all of these things is because they all have one thing in common. They have victims that are being beaten, murdered, brutalized, raped, had felonies committed upon them by people that did not have guns or knives, people that had empty hands. And the question a lot of guys out there, guys and girls, have is, when am I allowed to use a firearm? Or let's say, people are like, well, even if they would have had a gun, it would have been illegal for them to use it, and then they would have gone to jail. because the guy that was, the rapist didn't have a gun, or the guy who jumped up at the chess game and killed the other guy. In fact, let's just say it. When someone is brain dead, they're no longer a viable living human being, right? Their brain is no longer functioning. Although there may be tumors in their chest, they're dead. So, the guy jumped up from the chess table and just for no other reason than the person didn't share the same skin tone as him, killed him. Guy in the bus who has has his face smashed in on the bus because he is of the wrong skin tone. Same thing, the hearing in Boston. We got Somali immigrants who think it's cool to just attack two joggers just because they're there, because they're infidels. Let's not forget that. So, people have said, well, even if somebody would have been there with a gun, you can't shoot it on our man. It's illegal. It's against the law. No, it's not. And let me tell you why. All right. First and foremost, we need to understand, if you have a firearm, if you own a firearm, if you are thinking about purchasing a firearm to use as a personal defense tool, you need to understand what the law considers to be justifiable use of force.
And what Paul's about to go over right now is a very small portion of what you guys need to understand. He goes over this greatly in depth. He really goes over this in his Armed Living Concealed Carry in a Uncertain World DVD. So you can pick that up and get the full story at studentofthegungear.com, and we'll give you a little teaser right now.
Yeah, thank you, Jared, for letting people know that. Yeah, we do have the reason we did that, the Armed Living DVD, was because we were constantly getting questions from people like, well, when can I do this? Or what should I do here? Or when should I do it? I'm like, you know what? Instead of addressing those all individually, we'll put it all on a training DVD and we'll put it out there, make it available to you. But use of force, justifiable use of force, and we've talked about this before, but we're going to touch on it again real quickly, and then we're going to move into disparity of force. In order to use, whether it's lethal force or non-lethal force, you must first establish the three things: ability, opportunity, and intent. Did the person in question that you claim was attacking you, did they in fact have the ability to do you harm? Okay. Did they possess a weapon, and so forth? In opportunity, did they have the opportunity to use that weapon against you? If somebody calls you on the phone and says, I hate you, I'm going to kill you, that might be intent, and they might own a gun or a knife or a baseball bat, but if they're on the phone with you, they don't have the opportunity, okay? And then obviously the last one is intent, demonstrated intent, because possessing, just because someone owns a gun or has a gun or a knife on them doesn't mean they have the intent to do harm. You see someone, like we've used this example before, but it's a good example. You're standing in the Quickie Mart, paying for your gas, and there's a police officer standing there filling his coffee mug. He has the ability because he has a gun, and he has the opportunity because you're there and he's there. Well, okay, he's got both of those, but he doesn't have the intent to shoot you or harm you. So you have to justify your actions by checking off each one of those blocks: ability, opportunity, and intent. Now, when it comes to ability, people said, well, ability it's easy to figure out because that person has a gun, or that person is trying to hit me with a lead pipe, or that person is trying to stab me with a knife. That is their ability. Okay, great. That's pretty easy to understand. What's a little bit more difficult or more complex is when the person doesn't have an obvious weapon. They don't have a gun. They don't have a knife, a lead, pipe, or a baseball bat or whatever. And you say, well, yeah, if you shoot somebody whose hands are empty, you're going to prison, buddy. You're going to be wrong. Well, yes and no. And there is a legal concept or legal precedent called disparity of force. And for those of you who went to public school in the last 20 years, the word disparity means a difference, or, the scales are balanced more heavily on one side than on another. That's why we have in collegiate wrestling and in boxing and in MMA, UFC, that is why they have weight classes, because they understand, and we've understood this for generations and generations, that two guys that are both about 175 pounds, that are both, in their mid-20s or whatever, are rather evenly matched. In whether it's boxing or MMA or whatever your favorite sport is, do they ever put a 151-pound guy in the ring with a 230-pound guy? No. Why? Well, the 150, you could say all day long that the 150-pound guy has a black belt in jiu-jitsu and the 230-pound guy doesn't. So, but the fact of the matter is everyone understands, and this is a very common concept, that larger, stronger people have the ability, the physical ability, remember we're going back to the ability part, to do greater harm than the person who is not. Now, yes, are there people on planet Earth, or have there been people on planet Earth that are small and wiry and very dangerous? Yes, obviously there are. But when all other things are equal, the person who is larger and stronger has the disparity in their favor. What does that mean? If the disparity is in favor of the attacker, the person who is being attacked is expected to, by law, use other forms or force multipliers to defend or protect themselves. Let's talk about, so we talk about disparity. We talked about size and strength. Talk about age. Age is a disparity. Let's face it, folks. If you are 51 years old and you are attacked by a 19-year-old, physically fit 19-year-old, you are at a disadvantage. Now, you may be a weightlifter or a power lifter, or you're a big giant dude. Okay, drive on. But in general, we're not, and if you are a big power lifter, weightlifting kind of dude, you're probably not going to be the one on the bus that the guy jumps up, calls cracker, and decides he's going to smash his face in. The guy who that happens to is who? The guy who works in an office building downtown and he's just trying to catch a ride to work because he's an accountant or he's a process server or he's a whatever. That's the guy who's just sitting there minding his own business and gets his cracker face smashed in for being the wrong skin tone. How about sex? Now, let's talk about the word sex real quick, because this is a freaking burr under the saddle of my. Okay, if you are a writer, if you write or you speak a language, whether it's French or German or English, there is context. There is feminine, there is masculine, and there is neutral. Anybody who's ever studied a foreign language should understand that. And that is gender. The term gender is in reference to the spoken or written language. Masculine, feminine, neutral. The word sex, S-E-X, determines male or female. You don't look at a cow and say, a cow is female. You don't look at cattle and say, what gender are those cattle? So when we're talking about sex, we're talking about either a male or a female creature. Now, you may be a female that is very large and very strong. Rock on, congratulations. But the fact is the courts understand that the average female person is less capable physically of defending herself from the male person. Now, don't get all bunged up and write me feminist letters, because here's the good news. The courts don't expect you as a 38-year-old mother of two to duke it out fist to fist with a rapist. Okay, can you live with that? They don't expect, oh, well, you should have just fought him with your fists and not let him rape you because you're a feminist and they expect that you will use a greater amount of force or some type of force multiplier to protect yourself. How about physical disability or handicap? All right, when people have bad knees, bad backs, bad arms, bad shoulders, bad wrists, whatever, that is not a benefit. Sorry, but the world is the world. It is a handicap. And if you're a person out there that has limited use of one of your limbs, let's say you have limited use of your left arm or your right arm or what have you, or you use a cane, they don't expect that a person that uses a cane is going to be able to outrun an attacker. They expect that you're going to use something else to defend yourself. What are we getting to here? We're getting to here the fact, and the last one we'll talk about is number of attackers. And this is a big one. The courts recognize that multiple persons attacking a single person have a greater disparity of force in their favor. The courts do not expect you as a lone individual to duke it out one-on-one, fist to fist, with 2 or 3 other people that are attacking you. The courts recognize that multiple people attacking a single person can and indeed do deadly force. And now we talked about deadly force before, but I'll give you a real quick refresher. What is deadly force? Deadly force is any force that can or may, or either does or may inflict death or serious bodily harm on you. Now, death is easy. That's assuming room temperature. Okay, you died and you're no longer alive. Everybody understands what that is. You say, well, what is serious bodily harm? Serious bodily harm is any harm that would require prolonged hospitalization, prolonged rehabilitation, or cause permanent scarring or disfigurement. Somebody smashes you in the kneecaps with a baseball bat, you're probably not going to die. But is that going to cause you permanent disfigurement or harm? Chances are very good, yes. The same thing goes with rape. The courts recognize that the rape, even though it may not have threatened to end the life of the person, is deadly force because it is serious bodily harm. All right, are we with me there? Okay. So here we have several situations. We have the I hate white people, where we got a large 31-year-old black male jumps up, turns around, sees a 62-year-old white male, smashes him in the face, knocks him down, and now he's brain dead. We got a guy on a bus. Guy jumps up. We don't have the specifics on the. I don't have the specifics in front of me about the guy on the bus, whether he was large or whatever. Obviously, he had enough force to smash this other guy's face in for being the wrong color. Shame on him. Then we had the Navy veteran. We have one single man, a single person, who is set upon by 3 individuals and beaten to the point where he now is hospitalized and has brain hemorrhage. We have 2 joggers, guys just jogging down the trail, having a good time in the middle of the day, attacked by, the reports say 6 or 7 Somali immigrants. All right. Then you have this gang rape that occurred in India. Now, the reason we even know about it is not just because it was a gang rape, but because it was so heinous and so violent and so just offensive to anyone who reads the story, and apparently is not a Muslim gang rapist, that the woman in question, the victim, died. So, and it was multiple people. In every one of these situations, the victim could have lawfully and legally used some type of tool to defend themselves. And it's particularly in the situation of the joggers, of the Navy veteran, and of the gang rape. There is legal precedent in the United States to support a person using a lethal force tool like a handgun to defend themselves against multiple attackers. And one of the things that we did for you guys is I actually went in and I looked up some court precedent. There is a Missouri Supreme Court ruling that says size alone could constitute physical force. And in the case that they quoted, they said a 6-foot, 220-pound pervert forced a 16-year-old girl to submit to molestation. And it said because even though that the molester did not possess a weapon or a firearm, did not use one, it says that the court quote says the following. It says, a man because he is physically inferior to another, and when they say man, they mean a person. Man that is physically inferior to another is not bound to submit to public assault. If nature has not provided the means for such resistance, a man may, in short, use a weapon. All right, I know that's a little bit of kind of convoluted legalese there, but it says a person or a human being that is physically inferior to another human being is not bound to submit to public assault. And if nature has not provided the means, then the person may, in short, use a weapon. All right. Do we understand that? That was precedent set forth by the Missouri Supreme Court. We put that in there, and we thought that was very important and very illustrative. So what you need to ask yourself, if you are a student of the gun, you're out there in student of the gun land, and you carry a firearm on a regular basis, and you're like, ooh, man, what if I was a bystander? And then that also is another question. It begs the question, let's say you are the witness to a beating. There's 3 guys stomping a dude's head into the ground, but you don't see any guns in their hands. And so you're like, well, I can't do anything except call 911 and hope a police officer shows up. You're like, well, I got a question for you. If a police officer was standing there and there were 3 men beating another man into unconsciousness, would the police officer be allowed to use a firearm to stop them from beating that man to death? Yes or no? Well, court precedent tells us the answer is yes. And way, way back in the very beginning of Student of the Gun Radio, you guys might not even remember this because I think it was show 2. We talked about a situation where a police officer pulled a guy over. The guy jumped out of his car. It's the middle of the day, punched the police officer, knocked him to the ground, got on top of him, and was beating his skull into the pavement. And the police officer was able to get his gun out of his holster and shoot up into the bad guy, shot up into his abdomen. That was not enough to convince the bad guy to stop killing the police officer. A bystander saw what was happening, heard the police officer screaming for help, ran up with his own gun, shot the bad guy like 3 or 4 times through the abdomen area, chest cavity, abdomen area. The guy still was trying to smash the police officer's head into the ground. And the last shot from the bystander went into the bad man's head, and the bad man expired and stopped trying to kill the police officer. So, and no charges were filed against either the police officer or the bystander because of what? Because of the disparity of force situation. It was a very large attacker who was physically strong. He had knocked the police officer to the ground and was beating him to death. And you would say, well, yeah, but he didn't have a gun, so the guy would get in trouble. No, you need to take these things into consideration. And what's most important is you need to think about these things. You need to examine them before you're right in the middle of one. Being right in the middle of an attack or an assault doesn't really give you the time to do the analytical thinking to consider, if you never heard these words, or you never heard of the concept of disparity of force, or if you never understood justifiable use of force, if you're just walking around with a gun on you because that's the right thing to do, you may hesitate, or you may not act, or you may act incorrectly. You want to think about this stuff. You want to, consider it before you're actually involved in it. That's part of the training process and part of the learning process. So there were so many. I mean, I don't want to call it epidemic, but it's pretty darn close to being epidemic right now. If nobody reads newspapers anymore, but you get your news on your smartphone via Fox News or Google or YouTube or whatever. However you're getting your news. Let's face it, most people see news stories today because their buddies put it up on Facebook and they click on it and they're like, oh, really? Is that going on? But you're seeing these things. You're seeing citizens just going about their business in the middle of the day. And that's another thing that we want to hit on real quick, because all of you guys out there who have talked yourselves out of carrying a gun, or you've talked yourselves out of carrying any kind of a self-defense tool. Because why? Well, you convince yourself, you're like, well, I don't go to bad places. I don't go out late at night. I don't hang out around bars. I don't go to the bad part of town. So because I don't do any of those things, then nothing bad will happen to me. Well, let's take a look at every single one of these situations. We're in the middle of the day, in public. People convince themselves that, well, as long as I'm in a public area or there's lots of other people around, a bad person won't attack me because they're afraid of witnesses. No, Apparently not. Every one of these cases that we just talked about, there were witnesses all over the place. It was the middle of the day, and it was in public. So for all you guys and gals out there that talk yourselves out of having some type of defensive tool on you because it's only the daytime, and I'm going to be in public, and I don't go to bad neighborhoods. Do you ride a bus? Do you go to work? Do you jog? All of these things happened where historically, if you listen to the security experts, the ones who tell you just be a good witness, put your head down, and don't make the bad man angry, if you listen to them, none of these situations should have ever occurred because they won't occur. You won't be attacked on a public bus in the middle of the day. Oh, that won't happen. You won't be attacked in a public park in the middle of the day. No, that won't happen. Yeah, it can and it does happen all the time. And unfortunately, it seems like in the United States of America today, the bad people, even though they may not be increasing in number, are increasing in their boldness. They're increasing in their ferocity. They feel like, it seems to me, by examining these stories, that there are people, they're vermin, two-legged vermin walking around the United States of America that really believe that they can do anything they want to do whenever they want to do it, including just randomly beating you to death on the street because you're the wrong skin tone. Don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at the host. Read the stories. Pay attention to what's going on around you. If you don't have any type of a tool or you don't understand. Now, if you're listening to me today and you're like, what's a Student of the Gun Radio all about? I saw the link on iTunes and I clicked on it. Thank you for being here with me today. I really appreciate it. And if you don't understand lawful or justifiable use of force, or you're brand new to this, welcome to the party. We're glad you're here. Now, the next step is to get yourself some training, get yourself some education. And not just one time. Increase your education all the time. What I want you to, I don't want you to just listen to Paul Markel. What I want you to do is I want you to get yourself into a school or a training program. If you're out west, in the Arizona area, go to Gunsight Academy. If you're on the East Coast or in the Midwest, go to Tactical Response. Go to Tactical Defense Institute, TDI, in Ohio. If you're in the great state of Texas, in the Republic, go to the Texas Pistol Academy. There's a lot of good information out there available to you. And because we like you guys, and we talked about this in hour one, if you didn't catch hour one for whatever reason or you missed it, don't forget that because we want you, students of the gun, to continuously have education and information and training, we partnered with our friends at Tactical Response, and we're going to be giving away training. We're going to pick lucky, subscribers, people who subscribe to the Student of the Gun newsletter. And in October, November, and December, we're going to choose winners, and you will get the free tuition for a 2-day course, any 2-day course of your choosing at Tactical Response. And you can go to tacticalresponse.com and check out all of their different courses and their course calendar and what have you.
If you want to prepare yourself for the training, before you actually go up there, pick up the DVD or the book from studentofthegungear.com, and that'll kind of help you with the mindset part of it.
Oh, we also did a getting ready for gun camp video, and we've got
we have that on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, if you go to Student of the Gun TV, the YouTube Student of the Gun TV is our main YouTube channel, and then we have Student of the Gun Homeroom, or SOTG Homeroom. But we did a little 5-6 minute thing called Getting Ready for Gun Camp. And essentially, if you're going to go to travel to a professional shooting school, you need more than just a gun and ammo. You need lots of other stuff. And so we talk about that and how to prepare yourself so that you can get the absolute most out of your experience. Because let's face it, if you're going to go to a gun school, I've convinced you. You're like, okay, Paul, stop telling me. I get it. I'm going to go to Gunsight. I'm going to go to Tactical Response. I'm going to go to TDI, Ohio. I booked a seat. I'm going to do it. Fantastic. When you're there, you want to get the absolute most out of your investment in time and money and effort. And you don't get that by showing up without the proper gear or without the proper mindset. So, the Getting Ready for Gun Camp, we've done it as an article. We've done it as a video. So just type in Getting Ready for Gun Camp in your favorite search engine and you'll find it.
I'll make that easy for you. If you want to go to studentofthegun.com/join-our-team, I'll put the video up there for you underneath the current giveaway. And if you don't want to type in that long URL, you can just go to studentofthegun.com, and on our little sign-up form there, it says for our current giveaway, click here. Just click that button, and it'll take you right over there.
Isn't he wonderful, folks? He's always doing just a little bit extra work just because he likes you guys. What a kid, I tell you what. So if you get nothing else from this segment, understand this, that it is, in certain cases, lawful and appropriate for you to shoot unarmed men. Now, I know that that goes against everything you've seen on, all your favorite cop TV shows and all that other stupid jazz. But in the very, very real world, there are people whose hands may, in fact, be empty who can do deadly force to you or to other people. And to hold back is simply to become a victim, and maybe a brain-dead victim or something even more, horrible happen to you. So you need to understand what your rights and responsibilities are as a student of the gun and as a gun carrier. Now, don't forget about our good friends over at Keltec Weapons of Cocoa, Florida. Don't forget about those guys. They're down there, and they're working as hard as they can to produce firearms as quickly as they can for you. And like we said in the beginning of the first one, a crossbreed Super Tuck holster can be worn while you're loading a Penske truck or wearing a tactical kilt. So those things.
Flying in a helicopter.
Or flying in a helicopter. That's right. You can wear one, and it'll stay in place while you're flying in a helicopter. We want to remind you guys, don't forget to watch Student of the Gun TV on Dish Channel 266, and that's Sunday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern. And, should we give them a teaser?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give you guys a teaser because, well, I like you. We are in the process right now of signing a deal to get Student of the Gun television on a digital cable provider as well. And this is only going to be for East Coast people right now. At the moment, it's going to be an East Coast thing. Now, some of you guys out there in the West Coast slave states, we might be able to work a deal to get it to you too, but I don't know if Jerry Brown's going to let us come into California. They probably, in the next session of the California state legislation, there's going to be a Student of the Gun amendment prohibiting us from coming into the People's Republic of California. That wouldn't surprise me.
I was just about to say they'll probably ban us.
They'll probably put us on an arbitrary list of assault weapons out there. And in addition to rifles that can take a detachable magazine, they're going to put Student of the Gun because they don't want you hearing what we have to say. And because if you know liberals and elitists, they really don't like people that have different opinions than them. But so check us out. Check out Student of the Gun TV on Dish Channel 266. Go to studentofthegun.com. And if you want to be eligible for all this free stuff that we can't stop giving away, because we just do it because we like you guys, all you have to do is go to studentofthegun.com and sign up right there. And if you want everybody to know that you're a student of the gun, how do they do that, Jared? They want people to know they're a student of the gun. How can they do that?
They could get the shirt or the sticker. They could be the Student of the Week where we give away free stuff. Yeah. Free apparel.
Yeah, don't forget about that. Now, we usually do the Student of the Week in episode 1 or in part 1 of the episode. But if you want to be the Student of the Week, post your question. And if we mention you on the air, all you got to do is just, write the info at, say, hey, I heard myself on the radio, and here's my address. Send me my free stuff. It's that easy. So, ladies and gentlemen, we truly appreciate the opportunity to come before you guys today to talk with you real quick. And I guarantee you that by the time we put this episode up and you've listened to it, there's going to be even more to talk about. I'm looking at my show notes right now, and we didn't get to everything in the show notes. It's just going to have to wait until next time. Now, remember, you're a beginner once, but you should be a student for life.